Our speaker this morning is Colette Zidek. Colette is a 3-year boarding student from Anchorage, Alaska. She's a prefect in Davie Hall, a member of the girls varsity hockey team, and a captain of the varsity girls cross country and outdoor track teams. She's also the proud roommate of Janelle Robinson. Colette.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know many things, but I do know that I'm fine. I don't have faith in many things, but I have faith in time and healing. And I don't idolize many people, but I idolize Bella Basil and Mary Kate Barnhart. And even though MK hates them, this speech is a love letter to those two individuals. I'd like to begin in Alaska, my home state, and in my opinion, the most beautiful, geographically diverse, and special state in this country. I know people are curious, so I'll address some questions you might have. Alaska is in fact a state, and I am an American citizen. Alaska is the largest state, and it's over 2 times larger than the size of Texas. To put things in perspective, our state is larger than the country of Iran. There are certain things that only Alaskans would understand, like calling the contiguous United States the lower 48. We have summers with long days, yet harsh winters with little sunlight at all. Mount Denali is the largest mountain in North America. I can see it from my hometown on a clear day, even though it's a 4-hour car ride away. That's like being able to see Connecticut from here. We proudly race sled dogs in the Iditarod every March, and we call this sport mushing. When I was a kid, I wanted to grow up and become a musher. We have great seafood and ridiculous television shows that I swear I know nothing about. And I know it sounds crazy, but I actually did have a pet moose that I rode to school, and I do live in an igloo. And I don't know much, but I do know that Alaska was the best place to grow up. It's not just because it was cool to say, but my parents had me genuinely explore the state. I could hike in our backyard mountain range and skate outside. I've jumped in glacial lakes, climbed down cliffs, and caught salmon. But somehow a school in Pottstown, Pennsylvania is where I met the people that changed my life. It's Wednesday, September 21st, 2022, and I had a really rough day. There were no incredible challenges, sudden changes, or catastrophes. It was like any other day on the hill, yet I was panicking, angry, and genuinely not myself. What frustrated me even more was when I thought of what was making me upset. I drew a blank. I was bawling with no reason to, and even though I couldn't recognize my specific worry, my trigger for this whole episode was saying the words, "I'm fine." I had said it to so many people that day, lying to each and every one of them. In those many moments of frustration, I decided I needed to turn this day around. So I buckled up. I went to practice and released some of my emotions on a run. It was therapeutic, but when I got back to the gazebo, I still felt that something was missing. I wanted to apologize to the people that I had dismissed that day. Introducing MK. If you guys don't already know her, MK is a sweet soul. She's a 5th former from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and she's the bubblier, happier lacrosse version of me. I met her at my first cross-country practice when she asked me, "So, if you're from Alaska, do you live in an igloo?" It was a rocky start, but we clicked fast and she became like a sister to me. No, more like a twin. We were attached on the hip on runs, even though she beat me in races. We're co-partners in the business of bothering McMains, and these past 3 years, we've had an infinite amount of dinners. I can confidently say that I've never met anyone like her, with so much optimism, kindness, and compassion. So that September afternoon, of course, I went to her room. She reads me so easily. Once MK told me that I seemed off, but I brushed her off. But a half hour later, I tested positive for COVID. So I tend to trust her when it comes to these things. But even in front of someone who knew me so well, I couldn't use my words. I decided to carefully tear a piece of paper from her history notebook, and I wrote at bold letters at the top of the page, "Reasons I'm upset." It was a good start. It was a list of bullet notes with some statements like, "I am not enough," or "I can't sleep enough." There was also a list of questions. How can I be a prefect while being confused myself? How can I be an SAMH representative with a faulty psyche? How can I go to college next year? I was expected to be an adult at 15 when I moved 4,000 miles away from my home and family. I was expected to be the big sister as a middle child. How can I live up to these expectations? Yes, an extensive list, but my final remark stung the hardest. In scribbled letters, I had written, "I am not Bella Basil," introducing Bella. I know I said I'd never met anyone with so much optimism, kindness, and compassion like MK, but I take back that statement because Bella was truly the blueprint for an empathetic and loving person. I also met Bella that first day of cross-country practice, but she was two years older than me, a sixth former. Bella is what I like to think of as the poster child of Hill. She was active in the community, as a prefect in the dorm, as an athlete on varsity teams and in the role of captain, as a student in AP classes, as a leader, as a member of the honor council in numerous clubs. She meant a lot to the school, but to me, Bella was my big sister. She was the best person to talk to confide in. You could vent and lean on her the same way you could celebrate and laugh. 2.5 years ago, she stood at this lectern and talked to an empty chapel about perspective. How every individual has their own perspective and that a healthy and functional relationship needs the understanding of another point of view to work. She also expressed her struggles being 4'11" and having to work twice as hard to keep up running against her taller teammates. I'd say I look up to her, but I honestly look down. With the 10-inch height difference, I saw the 2 steps she took for my 1. I saw her dedication every day, whether it be her commitment to others or to herself. There are always 2 ways of seeing things, and somehow, in my eyes, Bella always got it right. And I remember her rainy graduation day in 2021, from the security of my bed in Alaska, of course, when she received the Marion D. Patterson Jr. Memorial Prize for the unswerving loyalty and outstanding integrity in the fulfillment of school responsibilities. When she received this prize, the speaker's speech to Bella said, quote, "The Hill School values and nurtures principles of honesty and genuineness, courtesy and respect, and gratitude and concern for the greater good. Bella best exemplifies this as she lives intentionally each day to serve those around her. She leads to elevate those around her, not for individual recognition." Unquote. That's basically an award for best personality. Bella was so loved here. She had this essence that I wanted to emulate. So I, inspired by her consistency and incredible friendship, made it my goal to be that person. Keep in mind, I'm still sitting in MK's room, but now with tears welling up in my eyes. This one, out of all the other troubles, hurt the most. Not living up to others' expectations is something I've learned to live with, but to my own was so much worse. I am not Bella Basil. I didn't become my hero. It wasn't for a lack of trying either. I got involved with the school. I became a prefect and a captain, took on leadership roles in harder classes, but it never seemed to be as effortless as it seemed to be for Bella. But this season, MK and I took up the challenge of being the captains of the Hill Girls cross-country team. And it was definitely so much more than we thought it would be. Our team was a majority of first-year runners, and we struggled to establish an identity for the group. Things that we thought were self-explanatory were not, and to be honest, showing up every day required a lot of energy, emotional intelligence, and responsibility. Even 2 years removed from her presence on campus, we often asked ourselves, WWBD, or what would Bella do? And I know the answer. She would listen. She would respond. She would make sure I'm eating and rolling out. She would make sure I'm sticking up for myself. She would remind me of my worth. She would compliment me. She would push me too. She would call MK the baby. She would inspire others. And she would go to team dinners. About a week after that frustrating day, I was sitting with a group of third formers in our dining hall, and one told me, "Hey, Cece, I want to be you when I grow up." I've realized that Hill put the idea of a perfect student, athlete, and person in my head. My constant comparisons to Bella and criticisms of myself didn't make me a more empathetic or personable. It did the opposite. It made me withdraw from relationships and hurt those around me. Now I see that it wasn't so effortless for Bella either. She's put in the work like I have. So I ask you all to give yourself some grace. You are doing your best. At the beginning of the speech, I told you that I'm fine, that I have faith in time and healing. Now, 5 months removed from that day, I am fine. Those tears dried up and I kept going. I kept running. This is a piece of paper that I ripped from MK's notebook. I've held on to it because it serves as a reminder of how far I've come. My list of worries have become a checklist of problems to solve and goals to achieve over time. I've gotten more sleep, and I believe that my efforts are enough. I made my amends. Time will take me through more decisions, through graduation, and to my future. I need to make the most out of that time. I share this message with you today because even though I wasn't Bella, I was someone's Colette. I did my best to listen and understand, to push and to praise, to care and to compliment. It was a learning curve, and I couldn't have done it without MK. I ask you all to think of your MK, someone who has always been there for you. You don't know what you would do without their light in your life. They keep you honest and on track. I ask each of you to think of your Bella, someone who inspired you, who you missed so much after they graduated. The type of person who would give you feedback on their chapel talk, even if you had big college things to deal with. And for our third formers, who will that be? I share this message with you today because today is Valentine's Day, and I have one thing to ask of you all. Tell your MKs and your Bellas that you love them. Tell them that you're grateful for them, and tell them why you are. I don't know many things, but I do know that these two girls helped me become who I am. There was one whose ideal made me shoot for the stars, and when she could, she would reach out a hand and pull me up. When we couldn't hold on tight enough, there was one who caught me when I failed. I think this idea is perfectly described in the lyrics from one of my favorite songs from when I was a kid. It's Home by Philip Phillips, and it goes, "Settle down, it'll all be clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. The trouble, it might drag you down. If you get lost, you can always be found. Just know you're not alone, because I'm gonna make this place your home." So I love you, Bella, and I love you, MK. Thank you.